Hello, hello, and welcome everyone. Welcome. My name is Ana García Reyes. I am the Associate Dean at Hostos Community College, and I feel very honored and privileged to be joined by all these wonderful women leaders that are joining us today. They took out time of their very busy schedules to be with us to celebrate the International Women's Month, celebrating the social-political achievement of women and amplifying their leadership voices. With that, I would like to acknowledge the elected officials that are with us today. New York State Assemblywoman Chantel Jackson, who's the first one who joined the conversation. New York State Assemblywoman Karines Reyes. New York State Assemblywoman Nathalia Fernandez. And New York State Assemblywoman Amanda Septimo. Welcome, ladies, as well as our councilwoman, Vanessa Gibson. Welcome, Ms. Gibson. Before we continue with the program, I would like to introduce our distinguished president, Dr. Daisy Cocco de Filippis, whom I call her a champion. She's a CUNY champion because she pursued her undergraduate and graduate studies at CUNY. And she has done a marvelous job mentoring women. Throughout her entire career, President Cocco de Filippis has been a mentor and a leader. She's highly experienced administrator. She has numerous publications. Before coming to Hostos Community College, she was the president of Nagota Valley Community College. Prior to that, she was the provost and vice president of academic affairs at Hostos Community College. She's a highly accomplished administrator. She's a book author. She has a lot of publications focused on women. She has supported many students, and she is highly committed to the mission and vision of Hostos Community College. She's a wonderful role model. And with that, I want you to join me in welcoming our distinguished president, Dr. Daisy Cocco de Filippis, who's bringing some remarks for us. President?
Okay. Mil gracias, Ana. Thank you. In Spanish, we say, now that my grandmother is not around to praise, I need colleagues like Ana to give me that very beautiful introduction. Thank you. I'm very happy to see with us Isabel Neira, who is representing our Student Government Association, a future leader. And thank you, Ana, for all you do, and Diana in my office and all the members of my office. It's been the fact that we have been able to sustain such a strong cultural life during a pandemic is a testament to the work here. But also, as I look at all of you, I've met you before. We've had occasion to interact. How generous of you to be here. This is an opportunity for us to celebrate. And I have to tell you, just the 12 years that I was in Nagota Valley as a college president, then came back, and I saw this absolute growth of leadership among young women, that many had worked in as assistants, supporter of really good male mentors. But I kept saying to them when I met, when are you going to run for office yourself? It is great to have you there and to know that our elected officials count on the support of these magnificent elected officials, women who understand what it means to be mothers, to be daughters, to be educators, to be involved in the community, who understand the needs of women. Even now during the pandemic, it's been really tough on women, employment-wise and also quality of life wise. So you're championing. And I know that you were introduced, but I want to mention your names because I want to make sure that they are heard again and again and again. And I see that our Congresswoman, Carolyn Maloney is joining us at this time. and we're very grateful to her. Wonderful to have a Congresswoman join the conversation. Assembly members, Amanda Septimo, not Amanda, because Amanda is like sort of really over in our area a lot, and Nathalia Fernandez. Great to see you, Nathalia, as well. Karines, Reyes, wonderful to have you with us. And Chantel Jackson, and Council Member Vanessa Gibson. Thank you all. Today, and as we move forward, we ask once again for your strong voice in support of Hostos, in support of CUNY, and in support of public higher education. I heard that 35 members of the legislature are actually graduates of CUNY. CUNY is the most powerful urban university in the country, in the world, in terms of the kinds of lives that it has helped transform. So I am also, as I mentioned, old enough to note how our numbers, that is women leaders, those numbers have grown tremendously. And what an impact you are having as legislators on the quality of life. So many, and on the affirmation of equity and social values and education in our communities. I always, end up putting a little poetry in whatever I go, because that sort of defines who I was as a student at Queens College and my whole life. So this one is by Sylvia Plath, who was one of those who didn't live a long life, had a really tough life as a poet. This poem is called Mushrooms, and I thought of it as I imagined having this opportunity to be with this really talented group of women who are doing so much good for so many. Nudgers and shovers, Sylvia said, in spite of ourselves, our kind multiplies. We shall by morning inherit the earth, our foot's in the door. And I say, more than our foot, we're in the door. Many of you have crossed that threshold. And isn't it wonderful that it is morning? It is morning for women in politics. And it is about supporting more and being role model for many more young women. That is so powerful to hear your stories and how you got here. And also at some point, I know Anna has multiple questions that she shared, but I really want to hear, where do you think you'll be in 5-10 years? We're going to push along a little bit and what we want to do. And so I say, congratulations. Above all, congratulations for the great work that you're doing, and also for the kindness of your presence today, and for the difference your engagement is making in our society. Mil gracias y bendiciones.
Thank you, President. Thank you very much. Welcome, Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney. And actually, the first two questions are for you, because I understand that you have to leave, as well as the other ladies that are here. They have some budget resolutions to take care of. So let me start with the first question, if you're ready. Are you ready?
I'm always ready. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. The first question is, Mae Jemison, the first Black woman to travel in space, once said, never limit yourself because of others. Limited imagination, never limit others because of your own limited imagination. Why is this sentiment so important? How does it relate to Women's History Month?
Well, thank you for that question. And it reminds me of when I started out in politics, no one looked like me. I was usually the only woman in the room. I used to ask, can you get another woman in the room? And most of the jobs I had, I was the first woman to ever hold them, only because the door started to open because of the hard work of women who went before me. I was the first woman to represent the 7th Councilmanic District, and I was the first woman to give birth while in office to the city council. Many men had given birth, but not the woman. So that was shows you how trailblazing, pioneering it was. And I was first to represent the congressional district that I have the honor of representing now. And I'm the first to chair the Joint Economic Committee and the Oversight Committee. There have only been 18 women in history that have chaired committees in the United States Congress. When I ran for Congress, everybody told me, don't do it. You'll never win. Why are you doing it? What a waste of time. But I ran against a 14-year incumbent who outspent me 4-1, who voted against the financial interest of our city. He voted against, he would vote for cutting money for the city. So I ran against him and I won. And I didn't listen to them. And I went on, and if I had listened to him, I never would have gone to Congress. But everyone would tell me never, don't do it, you can't win. So I am like Ms. Jameson, who put it, never limit yourself because of others' limited imagination. Or I'm gonna say it my way, never let anyone tell you you can't do something, because just look at the fools that do. If you try and win, you're never gonna win if you don't try. So you have to go out there and take the chance, like Ms. Jameson said. And I tell them, never take other people's advice when they're telling you you can't do something. You have to believe in yourself and follow your vision and pray to God to give you a passion. Because when you have a passion, your work is fun every day and you enjoy it every day. And people are telling me now that it's impossible to ratify the Equal Rights Amendment. I'm not listening to them. I'm going to keep working and trying until women are enshrined in the Constitution with equality that protects ourselves and gives us the right to protect ourselves and to enforce equal pay for equal work. I yield back.
Thank you. Thank you for the wonderful answer. The second question is, the Equal Pay Act was signed in 1963 when women earned just 59 cents to every dollar that a man earned. Today, women earn 82 cents to every dollar that men earn. Why do you think it's taking so long to close the pay gap? How can we close this more quickly? Any ideas?
Well, the Equal Rights Amendment is the answer. Only by being in the Constitution can we enforce equality and really determine that women have been discriminated against and use the force of law to help them. Last week was Equal Pay Day, but it was not a celebration. As you said, it marks the extra days and weeks it takes American women to earn the same pay that their male counterparts made in the previous year. 3 months of work just to earn the same pay. How unfair is that? And in 63, as you said, we were paid 59 cents to the dollar. I remember that, wearing my 59-cent pin. And now we're 82 cents to the dollar. We got a pay raise, but it's not enough. It's still unfair. And and for women of color and Latinas and African Americans, it's even longer. March 24th is the average of all women. But if you break it down, it's even more. So it's even more unfair and harsh for Latina and African American women. And that's just not fair. So you have to work even longer to get the equal pay for equal work. And I want to make one point that's very important. A lot of times people talk about the pay stub. It's 82 cents into the dollar. They're looking at that weekly pay stub, that monthly pay stub. What is so unfair, it creates a wealth gap because it compounds over a woman's lifetime, so that she loses on average roughly $800,000. That's enough to buy a house. So it's incredibly, when you look at it, some young women say, well, it's just 82 cents to the dollar. 82 cents to the dollar compounds because your pension is less, your retirement is less, your 401k is less, your savings is less. It's just unfair. And the only way to correct that is by ratifying the Equal Rights Amendment. That's what we're doing now. They say it expired. We ratified it to 38 with Virginia and Illinois and Nevada. And we're saying that if Congress added a time limit, we can take that time limit away. And we took that time limit away and have passed the ratification of the Equal Rights Amendment recently in Congress. It's now in the Senate. and I'm not going to stop until we get it passed. And I say the way to correct that unequal pay for equal work is to get women in the Constitution so that we can enforce our rights. It's that simple, and I yield back.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the kind words. Very nice, very empowering for women. Now I am moving to Assemblywoman Chantel Jackson. She was the first one actually who locked in, and she said, I have a resolution to take care of. So I am moving to you, Assemblywoman Jackson. The first question for you is lack of political representation, poor health care, and job segregation are still issues impacting women today. What do you think about that?
Oh, that's a great question. And thank you for allowing me to be here amongst you all. Happy Women's Month, happy Social Work Month. So I'm grateful to say that the women on this panel with me actually supported me to get me to this place that I'm in today. And so I want to say thank you to them, first of all. The lack of representation is shifting. It's slowly shifting, but it's happening. And that's evident in the women that we see here today representing the Bronx. And so while we still have a fight ahead of us, I'm just grateful to know that I have a coalition of women in the Bronx who are here to support each other and to raise up the next group of women. I know I made a pledge to myself and to my team that whoever succeeds me, I will train up as best I can, and it will be a woman, and to make sure that she has the tools necessary to do this job correctly. And I think that is extremely important, that mentorship that we offer to women, that supportive role that we offer to women. And don't listen to when someone tells you that you're not fit or you don't have enough, you're not fit or you don't have what it takes or any of those things. When you are interested in representing your community, it does not matter what anyone else thinks. Make sure that you take care of you and understand that this is definitely a family effort. So I thank the women on here and understand that we, even if the table isn't made for us, we can create our own. So whatever that may be for you, just figure that out.
Thank you so much. That's a great advice for our students. Now, following that, the second question is, what advice would you give a young woman, like the one we have here, Isabel Neira, who's a student at Hostos Community College? What advice would you give women who are watching us today as well, who want to get involved in local politics? What's your advice to them?
Oh, well, first of all, you're in a good place because Hostos is where my mom started. And she has always been involved in her community. So you started off in the right place. I would say when you want to get involved, get a mentor who's already doing this work, and involve yourself in your local neighborhood community boards or whatever is happening on the ground. Volunteer in an assemblywoman or a senator's office or a congressperson's office. Volunteer in those offices and volunteer on their campaigns, because some things that that we don't talk about often when running for office is that as a woman, sometimes it could be harder to campaign, raise funds and things like that and get that kind of support. So every type of support that we can get is so useful. So I would say community boards, volunteer in your local elected official's office, volunteer on a campaign. It means so much and you're gonna learn so much just from those experiences. And don't forget the mentorship, extremely important.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I know that you have to rush, so thank you for your generous time. Thank you. The next person I have here is New York City Councilwoman Vanessa Gibson, who also has another meeting to take care of. She's going to say some words, some remarks. I am not going to ask her all the usual questions because she explained to me that she has to rush to another meeting. Welcome, Councilwoman Gibson.
Oh, thank you, Anna. I appreciate it. And thank you so much. You have been an incredible part of the Hostos family, and we are just so grateful for you. And the past year has reminded us that life is so precious. So I thank you, and thank you, Madam President. It's good to see you. And to all of my colleagues in the Assembly working on a budget for the state, we are thankful for all of you in supporting the legalization of marijuana. Yesterday, thank you so much. We need to right the wrong and provide the real equity and justice that we need in all of our communities. And Isabel, it's good to see you, and definitely want to recognize Congressmember Carolyn Maloney. This is the last day of Women's History Month, but we celebrate women every day. So even after today, we still celebrate our sheroes and first responders and frontline staff, essential workers, and everyone that have really paved the way for so many of us. All of us elected officials stand on the shoulders of someone who has come before us, who has laid the groundwork, who has created that path, those footprints that we have stepped into, and now we're creating our own footsteps for so many young women that really want to make sure that they have the same opportunities that we all have. I think being an elected official and being a woman and a woman of color, a lot of times, can present its own challenges. We can't just be average. We have to be exceptional. We have to make sure that we are creating pathways for young girls. We are breaking down those silos and those challenges that, step in the way of so many young ladies. I call them young queens that really want to be successful. You can't be what you can't see. And our young ladies need to see us in leadership. They need to see the amazing things we're doing. We can do it all. When you ask a woman to do something, it is transformative because we have our own style like no other, and we get things done. And so shout out to all of the ladies out there who are holding it down as wives, mothers, grandmothers, aunties, godmothers, who are raising their children, other people's children, who are taking care of their families and, professions. I mean, we just have so many things that women are doing. And every year we are breaking barriers, we're shattering the glass ceiling, and yet and still, we still are not equitably treated like our counterparts. Pay parity and gender equity, all the things that we women fight for every single day, we are still fighting on the front lines. But I realize that everything is happening for a time and a reason and a season. And during the season, while we are elected, we cannot allow these titles to change who we are. We have to always remain humble and realize that someone sacrificed so that we could be here. But it's up to us to make a difference in the lives of someone else and allow their future to be easier than ours. We work so hard every day, and a lot of times, people don't see the work we're doing. And at the end of the day, I really believe that we are serving a purpose. And so I love to encourage our women. March is a great month in recognizing the pioneers and trailblazers. Today is also Trans Visibility Day. So I want to recognize our trans sisters as well, also on the front lines. But I really want to encourage everyone out there to stand in your purpose, to know your value, know your worth, know that you have something to give back, and don't let anyone steal your shine. Don't let anyone stand in your way. There will be people that will stand on the sidelines that will try to stop you. But I always say, watch me work. I will show you better than I can tell you. And so I thank you so much for everything. God bless you all. Happy Women's Story Month. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your generous time.
Thank you. Thanks, Ana.
Thank you. And now moving to Assemblywoman Karines Reyes. Mira qué linda con sus lentecitos ahí.
Gracias.
Assemblywoman,
they're all emailing us and texting us that session is about to start at 4. So
okay, so what I'll do is that I'll cut the questions. Then instead of 2 questions, I'll ask you 1 question.
Ask me the question. Go ahead.
Okay. The first one is, what advice would you give women who are victims of domestic violence to improve their way of life?
Okay. Domestic violence is one of these very touchy subjects. And I think the best advice I could give a victim of domestic violence is to actually seek somebody to talk to about your issue, because oftentimes women suffer in silence. And when we suffer in silence, we don't give the opportunity for help to come our way, but also when we don't share our stories, it's difficult for other women to see that they are possibly living the very same circumstances that you are. So when you speak up and you seek help, you not only help yourself, but you help other women around you and help uplift them and uplift this issue of domestic violence, because I think oftentimes, because it happens behind closed doors, it's hard for us to imagine who are the people that are really suffering, and oftentimes it's the people that we would never imagine are struggling with
Okay.
intimate partner violence.
Thank you so much. The second question, real quickly, what advice would you give a female single woman, especially students, who are struggling with their kids to create a better life for themselves and for their family?
I would say never give up. You know, when I decided to go back to school and become a nurse, shout out to BCC, you know, I was actually on maternity leave with my second child. And I remember going to classes with my breast pump and, you know, a cooler full of breast milk and doing that while working full time and doing it and being focused, because I knew that that would be the way that I would create a better life, not just for myself, but for my children. And long and behold, it has been transformative. I wouldn't be here today as an elected official probably if I wouldn't chosen that career path as well. So I would say don't give up. Sometimes it's difficult, but you could look at your children's face and know that you're doing it for a reason.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your generous time. So let me move real quickly then to Assemblywoman Amanda Septimo. I know that you're in a press, that you're pressed with time. So this
I've
is the
actually
question.
logged in on another screen, so we're all good.
Okay, great. Thank you. What a relief. All right, so let's move to the question. What motivated you to run for office, and what steps did you take to pursue a career in government?
That's a good question. So, you know, I think we're in this moment. I think it was Chantel making the point earlier that we're in this moment of women really stepping into their power, running for office, winning against all odds. And I think we've seen that in this last few years, that we've seen women inspired by the failures of policy around them, whether it's through representation that's not showing up or policies that get passed that don't reflect their needs. And I think my inspiration to run was really a combination of the two. I've been doing some kind of community work, community activism since I was a teenager. And then I went into work in government, and then I worked for some labor unions. And I think throughout it all, I've watched policy decisions get made for the South Bronx that didn't actually help anyone in the South Bronx. And I was watching representation coming from the South Bronx that didn't actually feel like it was representing what we needed. And, you know, I think you get kind of frustrated when you want policies to actually be helping you, your neighbors, your family. And for me, I just had the thought a few times where I was like, you know, I probably would have done that differently. I probably would have spoken up more about that issue. I would have fought more to see that go better. And then you just finally get tired of waiting. And that's exactly what happened for me. Instead of waiting for someone else to do things right, I thought, you know, well, why don't I just jump in myself? And that was really my kind of emphasis. But I think in terms of preparation, to Chantel's point earlier, I think it's a matter of just being involved in community, because there is no better way to become an expert on where policy meets reality and how you can have an impact when you get wherever you're going, but to be an expert on how things are happening every day. And I think that really works through being involved on the really grassroots level and seeing how things are working or not working on a daily basis.
Great. Following that, what was your first job? How was it? What was your experience like? What was your first job in government?
Yeah. Okay. So my first job in government technically was working for Congressman Serrano, who was the congressman from the South Bronx just up until the end of last year. And my experience was actually really interesting because I interned for the same office when I was a teenager. But Congressman Serrano was in office for many years. And so a lot of the staffers that were my coworkers had seen me be kind of a 15-year-old intern figuring it all out. So that was a really interesting experience to now come in as a colleague. And then shortly thereafter, I got promoted to district director. So that was another kind of changing set of dynamics. And I think that that's something that we don't talk about enough, is what happens with young people going into these very kind of serious spaces, and how the experience of being young will change your experience in these workplaces. And so, you know, already being a woman of color, you add being a young woman of color, I think there's another layer of having to fight through and be heard and be taken seriously. I always tell people that you should let your work speak for itself, because people underestimate you and take long to figure out that you're great is their problem, not yours. And that is certainly something that I sort of had to adjust to at the congressman's office. But once you cut through that noise, I think, again, people sort of see the quality of your work and really learn to appreciate the diversity that you bring to a space, not only diversity of thought and perspective, but also diversity of lived experience. And that's something really valuable. So my early experiences, I think, were kind of atypical, but very exciting and very rewarding, because my assembly seat is actually in the congressional seat right now, and it's my home. So there's something very special, I think, about doing work that impacts people that you love in places that you care about, like Hostos.
Thank you so much for your generous time. Assemblywoman Fernandez, Nathalia Fernandez, how are you? So good to see you again.
Yes, good to see you too.
The first question, when was your first campaign for office and did you win? If not, what motivated you to continue?
Well, my first campaign, I won, but I had to resign a month later. I ran for state committee in 2016. So I did win the position and I was the state committee woman starting 2017. But then I started a position with the executive chamber in the governor's office and I could no longer hold that position anymore. So I did have to resign. But I first ran a campaign, a competitive one, so to say, in April of 2018. And my motivation came because I wanted to speak on the issues that I felt were not being spoken of enough. And me specifically, you know, the elected officials that I have worked for, I did work as chief of staff to the assembly office that I have now, to an assemblyman, to the governor man. So I felt that it was time for someone like me who had interests and values that resonated with many, many constituents to be that voice for them.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. The second question. In the United States and around the world, women continue to be underrepresented in high-level, highly paid positions and overrepresented in low-paying jobs. Why do you think this is still occurring?
That's a very good question, because that was something that crossed my mind at the time that I was a representative for my principal, as chief of staff to my principal. I noticed when I would be in these certain meetings with other representatives from various agencies, various offices, different offices, it was mainly all women. That their number two, their trusted person in their office was a woman, and mainly a woman of color. And it was very interesting. One time I was sitting with them waiting for whatever meeting to start, and we kind of laughed at that. They're like, you work for him, you work for him, you work for him. Look how we're the ones helping to make, you know, the things happen, making decisions easier for them, and doing a lot of the groundwork and the footwork, so then the principal can, you know, carry on with it. But it's something that I have not been able to really, you know, figure out as to why, you know, women are in these secondary positions. And if anything, I can only just say that, you know, we've always been that trustworthy partner. We've always been that strong voice of reason in many people's lives, in our families, in workplaces, in community. And it shows me that we are valued to an extent, but unfortunately still not enough that we get pushed to these higher positions, or we, you know, get accepted into these higher positions. And that's still something that we have to keep working on, with more women running, giving opportunity to other women to be in these positions, and really supporting them, encouraging them to carry on in what they're doing to reach these higher positions.
Thank you so much. We have Isabel Neira there, who's a student at Hostos Community College. Isabel, you want to say something to the distinguished elected officials we have here before we close the program? Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Buenas tardes a todos. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, President Daisy de Filippis, Associate Dean Ana García Reyes, Director Diana Kramer, for inviting me to be here and on behalf of the diverse student body. I am very proud to be here today, representing the students of Hostos Community College. My name is Isabel Neira Sánchez. I am a member of student government in the Leadership Academy. Hostos is very special place that I am very happy to call my second home. I am a mother, wife, student, and volunteer. And I aspire to be of service to others when I graduate from Hostos this semester. Today, we are opening our doors to dignitaries and influential women in leadership roles in Congress in New York City. I want to recognize the work of the Honorable Karines Reyes, who is one of our panelists today. The Honorable Karines Reyes took on that different role early on during the pandemic to care for people affected by COVID-19. In addition to her job in New York State Assembly, the Honorable Karines Reyes changed her business suite into medical groups to help save so many lives and give people hope during the COVID-19 pandemic. As a registered nurse in the oncology department of Montefiore Eastern Hospital, Nurse Karines, you are my role model.
Oh.
Today, we welcome many role models into our home. I am very excited to be amongst these influential women in Celebrate of Women History Month. To end, I will share two quotes with you from women Harry Hoodman and Rosa Parks. I will fight for my liberty, so long as my strength lasted, and if the time came for God to, the Lord will let me take me. We must have courage, determination to go on with the task of becoming free, not only for ourselves, for our nation and the world. Cooperate with each other, have faith in God and ourselves. Thank you to all the role models and Trailblazers who are here with us today for your amazing work and dedication. We are truly grateful and honored. Thank you so much.
Muchas gracias, Isabel. Beautiful words. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I want to thank all the wonderful elected officials who joined us today. They took time out of their very, very busy schedule. They have very tight commitments to comply with. And we know that you made a great effort to make time to be with us. So thank you, Amanda Septimo, Assemblywoman Amanda Septimo, Assemblymember Carines Reyes, Assemblymember Nathalia Fernandez, and the other ladies who were with us, Councilwoman Gibson, Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney, and Chantel Jackson. Thank you to all for being with us. I know that you have to run to take care of budget situation, closing the budgets and other matters. So, but before I close, I want to say thank you again to everyone who has joined us, our wonderful faculty and staff and students. Thank you to Dr. Eric Radasky, who helped to organize this program today. Thank you to Diana Kramer, the president's assistant, to Mr. Victor Santana. Thank you to all the wonderful colleagues and members of the external community who are joining us as well. People from the community, they're logging in, they send in messages. They really love this presentation. So thank you to all, and I look forward to seeing you at another occasion. And just remember, Hostos, I know that you're going to negotiate budgets now. Don't forget about Hostos. With that, I thank you again. And I don't know if the president wants to say Anything else before?
This is probably the most incredible imposition we could have made at this time. But it was a good way also for you to, who I know you don't forget us, to actually remember us even more as you fight for our budgets. And I'm very grateful to the Assembly at this point and to the Senate that they have really adopted this one house budgets that are generous. So when we look to the council, we expect the council to also rise to that occasion as well and champion us. And just remember that, you know, it takes one graduate from Hostos in the nursing program, in this case, to then have the next generation become a Supreme Court Justice Sotomayor. The mom was a nurse graduate from Hostos. So, and also to see so many really young and beautiful and talented young women. The future is shining bright. That is correct. Don't wait too long for your turn. You know, speak your mind. And above all, when there are these two forks in the road, choose the one. Let's travel by. Take a chance. Believe in yourself and take a chance. And I'm looking at, because I said to you, mention what you're going to be doing 5-10 years, but maybe you don't want to announce that now. I do look forward to seeing you advance. And I'm so proud of Isabel, my beautiful Isabel. You should see the children, beautiful children that she's raising, and she's trying to do all of this other work and be dutiful and volunteers at the hospital. It's amazing. And Anna, as always, I mean, she's my little sister. So very, very happy to have everybody join us. And we'll let you just make sure you bring us up and you talk about public higher education, because that is the only way that communities move, you know, manage to transform themselves. Okay.
Okay.
I know. I'll be
Thank you again, ladies, for
Thank
staying
you.
until
Thank
the
you.
end. Remember, nuestra casa es su casa, siempre a la orden. Whenever you get a break and you have time, feel free to stop by. Muchísimas gracias a todos.
Gracias.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
And I look forward to seeing you at another event in the near future.